Saw was a large open area with a big red stick. They named this place Red Stick. Baton Rouge. That's what it means. That's where it comes from. Down in the Gulf of Mexico, they seem having islands after whatever occurred to them at the moment. So they dropped anchor and they left their ship at Ship Island. They logged the Horn of Powder on Horn Island. Deer Island is covered in deer. Well, Cat Island is covered in, anybody guess? Raccoons. They missed that one entirely. The raccoons are not native to Europe. They simply did not know what they were looking at. Strange looking at. There's a much more important historical name about 15 miles away from where we are now. Sails slowing down, and then called down to it. Excuse me, sir, is this the Mississippi River? The Edmund looks up at the English captain and courageously says, no, this is the Atchafalaya. You've missed it entirely. You need to go back down to the Gulf and keep going. But don't keep going up this river, because Iberville, as you will see later, not the last, that the British will be turned back from New Orleans by something of a deception and a lie. Alright folks, if you've got a camera, you should take it out. You got a phone with a camera, go ahead and pull that out. And then head to the port side of the boat. You're just about to have a perfect vacation photo opportunity. That's yourself. From the middle in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, right about there. There's your shot. That is actually one of the iconic pictures of New Orleans. They put on the covers of books, magazines, pamphlets, advertisements, that sort of thing. If you did not get one of your own, don't worry, it's also on about 100,000 different postcards. Temple. And they exercise these rights, getting together on Sundays at a place called Congo Square, which is now called Louis Armstrong Park. And there they would play African rhythms and European instruments. And that mixture is the roots of jazz. Those are the oldest roots. And jazz, as an art form, would not have developed in the way that it did, or in the location that it did, much higher temperature than water. And there were many, many men, women, and children that were scalded, disfigured, or killed by the molten sugarcane sap. It was extremely dangerous to make, but it was very, very profitable. By 1750, he surrenders to the Spanish in 1763. Spain takes control of Louisiana and New Orleans. Only after this transfer is complete, it's transferred to the British. The British take what's left, and what's left is Canada. And that is how the French colony of Canada became part of the British Empire, now the British Commonwealth, but they don't get Louisiana, and they don't get New Orleans. So New Orleans becomes a Spanish. How much we missed him, and begging him to please take us back. It did not work. That sort of thing never does. Alright folks, on the port side of the boat, we're passing 2 large Navy ships. Relatively large Navy ships. Larger, certainly. The Cape Kennedy and the Cape Knox. These 2 twin ships are part of the United States Navy. When those Spanish men got to New Orleans, they learned how to speak French very quickly so they could do their jobs, and so they could speak to the locals, and of course speak to the local French women. When they got married, they married the local French women, who cooked French food, spoke French to their children, and celebrate holidays in a French fashion here in the city of New Orleans. For this reason, even through 40 years of Spanish rule, the culture remained almost completely French. Except in one very specific area, and that is architecture. The French Quarter is called the French Quarter because the French people founded it, the French people lived there, they laid down the streets, and they gave them French names. But the buildings in the French Quarter are not French. The buildings are Spanish. This is primarily because the French had insisted on building their buildings out of wood, sometimes literally just Spanish town. They're absolutely right, it does, and that is why. So things continue on this way to New Orleans for several decades until the little Corsican rises to power. Napoleon Bonaparte seizes control of France. Of course, being West Point. But that is just my admittedly biased opinion. Yours may differ. So while the French and the British are fighting all over the planet, America stays out of fights. We're trading with both sides. And because no one is paying attention to us, we start building ships. Lots and lots of ships. In the first decade of the 19th century, America expands the U.S. Navy, the U.S. merchant fleets, and the U.S. whaling fleets so quickly We built so many ships in such a short period of time that America, as a country, literally starts running out of sailors. We have so many new ships, we don't have enough men to man all of the new boats, which is actually a real problem. To fix this problem, we turn to the best sailors in the world, the British boat. You may want to pay attention to this next part of the story, because this story is taught in every single Canadian school. It is not taught in American schools, but it absolutely did happen. The United States declares war on the British in 1812. That is why it's called the War of 1812. And if you're from America, I realize that you don't know anything about the War of 1812. And here's why. The very first thing that we did, the only thing that we did, was invade Canada. Thomas Jefferson had years earlier said this would be a mere matter of marching. We could walk up into Canada and take over the entire country without even firing a shot. Those Canadians would surrender, become part of the United States, we'd be one big happy family. It did not work out that way. The U.S. invades Canada in 1812, and we were defeated in almost every single battle. We were not defeated by the British Army because they didn't send anyone to help. We were not defeated by the Canadian Army because that did not exist. No. The American Army, now the most powerful the world has ever known, was defeated by the citizen militias of Canada. And their allies, the First Peoples, the Navy Canadians, especially the Iroquois Confederation. They took their own muskets and they pushed the United States back into the United States. And because they were Canadian, I'm sure they apologized while they were doing it. They definitely did it. I'll finish that in a second. All right, folks, off the port side of the boat, we're passing the Domino Sugar Refinery. Believe it or not, that is, not was, is one of the largest sugar refineries in the world. 1 million tons a year, 7.2 million pounds a day, if it is operating at capacity, which it's not at the moment, but it is operating, I assure you. Yes, I really do mean that. Yes, all of it. Yes, still. Yes, even those buildings. No, I'm not kidding. No, that's not a joke. Yes, I am serious. To answer your next question, they just don't care. Three times the United States invaded Canada. 1812, again in 1813, and again in 1814. We were defeated. We retreated 3 times. The war did not go well. The only bit of success we had, we were in the boat. So that you do not get left here at the battlefield. It has happened before. It will happen again. It is inevitable. If it happens today, I assure you that I will cheerfully and shamelessly wave at you as the boat goes by. Don't let that happen to you. Get back here on time. And thank you all very much for listening. We went beside our cotton fields, didn't say a thing. Fired our guns and the British ship.
Shermanville, Battlefield, and National Cemetery.
Wider and longer. They run the canal all the way from the river into the feet wide, 8 feet deep. 15 feet wide is too far for a normal human being to jump. It is 8 feet deep because that is too deep for a normal human being to cross.
This is a battlefield ground of Orleans, one of them, Jackson Cemetery, etc., etc. Here they're showing the West Bank assault, Battery 1 and forward redoubt, and attack along the river. Different action pictures and everything. They got a big group back there talking about how they did parts of the Mississippi River. Anyway, see you in the next view. Naturally, not being a professional docent, we did get off the Creole Queen and be here for about an hour, but we on our way back. So it was a really quick off the boat tour. You're off here about an hour, but that's all we're gonna do right now. Talk to you in a bit. So we saw about all we're gonna see on this ride here, and we're on our way back to the boat. Enjoy our river ride back to the metropolitan French Quarter, New Orleans. As you can see the boat out there ready for us. You don't have to leave the boat if you don't want to, but we did just for a few minutes. That's all we really need. Anyway, I'll see you in the next scene. If they don't get a copyright on this Louis Armstrong thing, or somebody back in the day, sound like Louis Armstrong. I like Louis Armstrong. He's one of my favorite singers. I like his song. I don't know all of them, but I like Louis Armstrong because he's the cradle of jazz of New Orleans. As I said before, you can't beat that. Nowhere. Nowhere in the United States of America.
Commensurate with his new position, as is tradition. As the highest ranking officer in the Superdome, he was placed in command, having never led men on or off the field. Sometime after midnight, the rain began to fall and the wind began to rise and rise and rise and rise. The levees are too short, the water goes over the top. The Four Points Canal, the levees are intact, but the flood walls on top of the levees break. The New Orleans Canal, which was unfinished, it was the gate leading to the unfinished portion that broke over. Monterey did not wait to get to New Orleans before he started making things happen. Before his feet left the ground in North Carolina, he'd ordered convoys of food and water to begin crossing hurricane-affected areas for immediate distribution. He contacted Fort Hood in Texas, Fort Benning in Georgia, Fort Sill in Oklahoma, and he asked them to...
Please give us a good review on Yelp, TripAdvisor, Google, whatever it is you choose to use. If you enjoyed my own narration of stories I told, I'd greatly appreciate if you'd mention me by name in that review. I enjoy it, which actually does matter. I enjoy my job very much, and I'd like to continue doing it. God forbid I have to go back to being a lawyer. 5 years was enough, I assure you. My name is Charles, like the King of Spain that did once rule this colony. And one last little joke.